Hello, and welcome to another exciting episode of Graci Asks Dumb Questions, so you don't have to. Now, this is going to sound crazy, but hang with me. I'm Graci.
Order.
Today, I'm prepared to ask a dumb question. In this series, I ask questions that many independent artists need answers to. Questions that sometimes you feel like you should already know the answer to, even if you definitely don't. Now listen, this industry is rife with pretentious gatekeepers who can turn simple and valid questions into weird, unnecessary onslaughts of mansplaining, or worse, just full-on dismissal, which is dumb. And you know what? Gatekeepers, those guys, they're just insecure. They're just scared that they'll lose their upper hand if they don't keep on gatekeeping. So, quick message to gatekeepers. With that shit, we're not talking about them anymore. And I have great news for you. Unlike those clowns, I am very secure. I'm really not afraid to look a little green if I need to ask a question that I should already know the answer to.
What the heck does an artist manager even do?
Son of a...
Why? Because knowledge is power, and I am a powerhouse of musical badassery.
Just like you.
So let's get going and learn stuff together. Today, we are diving into the mysterious and magical world of artist management. Now, before we start, let's establish this right off the bat. Artist management is a very nebulous field. There are different types of managers that can have different responsibilities. In some situations, those different roles are filled by different people, but in other situations, all of those responsibilities may fall to one main manager. And there's not necessarily a right or wrong answer there. The people necessary for your team will likely fluctuate during the different seasons of your career. However, we can definitively determine certain aspects of management that are standard and/or deal breakers for employing a manager for yourself or your band. So here are the questions I'm seeking to answer today. What does a manager do for an artist? What don't they do? How do you know if and when you need a manager? How do you find a manager? How do you pay your manager? What expectations should an artist have of their manager, and what expectations should a manager have of their artist? Today's goal is to gain the answers to all of these questions and more. We'll take a look at the artist side and the management side and everything in between. And we've got some incredible friendspurts today to help us answer these questions. On the management side, we've got two industry powerhouses, Damian Ritter and Nikki Loringer. Damian runs Black and Orange Management, previously owned his own record label, is the founder of Music Entrepreneur Club, and is a longtime friend of the channel. Nikki Loringer is an industry veteran with more than 14 years of experience under her belt as an artist manager for artists that you have definitely heard of. Nikki heads up the LA office of Vector Management, which also has offices in Nashville, where I am, and New York. We are very lucky to have Damian and Nikki with us today. On the artist side, I've got two faces that you may have seen before, Ed Isola of the 502s and Andy Hunter of As December Falls, and account manager at our Indie X agency. If you've heard anything about Ed and Andy, it's likely that they're the most badass independent musicians you've ever seen and are literally out there killing the game and swatting away bad record label deals, so these guys know their stuff. And right in the middle, we have Michael Kessler of KaiTune and professional videographer. Michael worked for years at an artist management company and has a ton of experience working in between artists and their managers, so he'll also have some great insights for us. Now that you've been formally introduced to all of our amazing friendspurts, let's get started. So first question, what the heck does an artist manager even do?
An artist manager really helps an artist get to where they say they want to be, and kind of builds a business around an artist and manages that business going forward so that it's profitable and that it's healthy.
That role is probably what I was doing for the 502s for the last 5 years, which was very much like overseeing the books, planning what are we doing content-wise, music-wise, kind of doing everything.
I mean, I really feel that a manager's job is everything. We've had people, asked to water plants when you're on tour, or feed the cat when you're out of town for something, to, go on a coffee run, to make decisions about, your big picture future, like signing a multi-album record deal or a worldwide tour, big tour deal. So, you may not be responsible for doing all of it yourself, but you are responsible for making sure that it gets done.
Like, you're on call 24/7
pretty much. Like, you don't really have time off. So I do have a tremendous amount of respect for hardworking artist managers. It's not a job that I want to do. And if you're working for an artist because you love and believe in them, then it's a lot more gratifying.
Okay, so obviously the role of a manager is wild and nebulous, which means there is a lot to consider when entering into an artist-manager relationship. So what are the things managers look for in artists, and what are the things artists should be looking for in a manager?
I'm not only interested in working with artists that I am a fan of their music, like in my personal life, it's the genre of music that I might put on, outside of work. I look for, do I really believe the stories? And do I think it's something that is that has a uniqueness to it? I also feel there has to be a connection from a personality perspective, because the management-artist relationship is a really personal relationship. You have to trust so much, and you have to be really great, because there are so many incredible artists that are putting music out.
So to me, a good manager is continuously learning. This business is always changing. Things are always evolving. So I think you always have to stay up on what's happening in the industry so you can best position your clients for success.
By far and away, I think the top consideration should just be your rapport with that manager, because they're gonna be like your parent, your brother, and like best friend. Like you're gonna interface with that person so much.
That hasn't changed at all. It is as much, if not more, of a relationship business than it's ever been. And people love working with their friends. Love doing business with people that they enjoy talking to and that they have a mutual respect for and that they have fun with. So much of our business is going out to shows and having nice dinner meetings and things that you want to. They're social events, and you want to have the people around you that you're working with be ones that you enjoy their company.
Yeah, so I think for me, the main thing was the money. How does that work? Is it 20%? And to put that into perspective, most managers take a 20% revenue cut if they sign you on a percentage basis. How does that 20% work? Is that 20% of deals they negotiate? Is it 20% of your entire profit? Is it 20% of your net revenue? Because that could potentially make a massive difference in terms of how much you end up paying out for someone. We wouldn't have settled for anything that wasn't 20% of profits at the end of the day. Just because you don't want to be spending money that you don't have.
Question-wise, I think it's important to ask about what's the vision for the band? What do you think are the key factors for growth for the band, and kind of have them dig in on, well, where do you think we can expand? For us, it was well, we have this plan, A, B, and C for touring, and this plan for streaming, and that kind of stuff. And if they say, well, we think streaming is important, just kind of play dumb and be like, well, what about streaming? Or how do we grow streaming? Just play dumb and ask questions.
So it sounds like there is so much cool stuff a manager can do for you and help you with. So what does that cost? From what we've learned, a good manager is basically working for you around the clock. So how are they compensated?
For developing artists, I talk to management friends who they're the tour manager, they're the publicist, they're the personal assistant. Every job that used to exist and used to be outsourced, is they're designing websites, they're creating graphics, they're making music videos, and the managers are sort of doing so much of that with their artists. And yet when you are working with a developing artist, you don't get paid. Most management situations are commission-based, which is great for an artist in the early stages because you don't have the capital at first. Your business is not running yet, so you can have someone help you get it off the ground, and it doesn't cost you anything. But for the managers, that means that you are spending sometimes 10, 12 hours plus, every day working for free.
Managers receive anywhere from 10, 25% gross. But the manager role has changed so much over the years. So I really think it just depends on a lot of different factors, like your experience level, your skill set level, where the artist is in their career, what's expected of you.
We want really to cut in when the band's huge. That's the idea, I think, behind a manager. And even at the smallest level, a lot of managers kind of start working for free or very cheap because they see the potential of the group, and that's what they're working towards, is when it's bigger kind of thing.
Okay, so unless you have a manager as young and hungry as you are, it's probably most likely that you're not going to attract an experienced manager unless you already have some significant stuff going on for you, which makes sense. So let's hear what Ed and Andy have to say about finding their managers and what that experience has been like for them.
For the 502s, up until about 6 months ago, we were self-managed. We just kind of dispersed that amongst ourselves, what traditional management would do, for as long as we could. And then just a little while went viral, and we ended up joining with a artist management company, like an actual team, who have kind of started taking in those roles off of our plate.
Yeah, so we recently signed with our first manager. Nearly every single deal, and I don't know if this is different in the States or if it's a cultural thing, but a lot of the management companies / managers that approached us, they weren't interested in a percentage split of profits. It was more of a retainer base, that you paid them X amount every month to manage you until you hit a certain amount of revenue, and at that point you would switch to a percentage basis. That always scared me. I mean, the argument behind that is that managers taking on smaller bands are taking a risk, but the problem is then you risk paying someone every month to potentially not do a lot, and that always scared me. And yeah, so our last manager, it was a percentage split of profits, which was what was appealing about him. You know, he was very upfront about that and said, I don't want to make any money unless you guys are making money, rather than I'm a member of staff that you hire. And I really liked that about him, and he was really, really great. I think the main problem for us was my background as having managed the band on my own for like 7 years up to that point, having done everything so DIY, was that I really struggled to let go, to a point where we're so self-sufficient in terms of booking our own shows, hiring out our own members of staff whenever we need anything, doing like a music video, like photo shoots, recording, finding producers, getting merch made. We've done all of that stuff ourselves for so long that we just felt that we weren't able to extract the value from having a manager that potentially we needed.
The 502s and As December Falls have been making huge moves over the last couple years as completely independent musicians. So it makes a lot of sense that managers and industry peeps would start to pay attention to them. So with that in mind, what are the things that we, as independent artists, need to have in place before a manager even makes sense for us?
So some artists are a little more business-minded, so they can kind of get their career off the ground, initially through self-distribution of music and social media, marketing and things, but never sign a contract before you have an attorney and a manager, in my opinion, because there are so many stories time and time again where artists have been taken advantage of. Typically, I've seen that there's either an attorney or a manager on first. So manager are one of the earlier people coming on.
I'm team do it yourself as long as you possibly can. For us, I didn't even really entertain the idea of management until it was I can't do this. I can't function. And not only me, but it was we had all the guys in the 502s operating between our jobs and the 502s. It was we just don't have time in our relationships. It was all right, we need somebody else. And that luckily we found the right people. The one caveat to that is if you're a solo artist, might be cool to have, early on have one additional person on the team. 502s, we did have 5 or 6 people working on our business before we brought a management team in.
If I was an artist, I probably wouldn't even be looking for a manager. I would be doing as much as I can, because these days there's so much you can do to start building momentum, to start making money, to start building a fan base. There's so much you can do, and I think that's only gonna benefit you longer term the more you do by yourself. And you'll really be able to understand what you truly need in a manager the more you do by yourself.
Okay, so let's real talk for a second. You've probably already gathered this at this point, but having a manager is not a silver bullet. Is a manager helpful? Hell yeah. But they're not gonna pull you out of obscurity and turn you into a star. The main impetus is still on you, the artist or band, to be working your asses off to make this thing happen. There are a ton of skills you need as an artist. Aside from honing your craft, you need business sense. You need basic graphic design skills. You need to get a handle on digital marketing. You need to know how to promote yourself and how to grow your fan base. And you need to be able to negotiate for yourself before anyone can step into this role. Now, of course, you can sub all of these skills for a truckload of money, which you may have. And if so, good for you. But for me and many other artists, we just have to learn this stuff and get our businesses up and off the ground before anyone is going to be interested in joining in this crazy venture. If you want to do this, if you really want to do this, there is a lot you need to be doing for yourself before it makes sense to add anyone else to your team. So how do we gain those skills? Well, thankfully, this is a question that I already know the answer to. The answer is Indie Pro. Indie Pro is the #1 online resource for music marketing, and it is literally only a couple clicks away. When you join Indie Pro, you gain immediate access to a training vault of more than 20 step-by-step trainings to help you grow, run, and monetize your music business. The reason that guys like Ed and Andy have been able to be so successful is because they have been taking full responsibility of their careers for years and treating them like a business. And it's through Indie Pro that they've been able to do this. And they got so damn good at it that not only are they about to launch to the freaking moon in their own careers, they help independent artists in our community every single day to make the same strides. If the business side of your music feels hard or intimidating to you, it certainly did to me, then you need someone to walk you through this, and Indie Pro can be that resource for you. Check out the link in the description to learn more about how Indie Pro is changing the game for independent musicians all over the world. Before you can attract a manager, you need to be your own manager, and Indie Pro can help you do that. I am so grateful to all the phenomenal Friendsperts that lent me their time and expertise for this episode, and they have some final thoughts for you.
We have so many stories about artists that have been, working for years in the business and putting music out and really trying to, find what their path is, and they make it huge, but you have to, truly keep going all the time.
I think a lot of artists have too high expectations of a manager. A lot of artists think that like they're stuck at a certain point, and they think that, oh, if I just get a manager, then I'm off to the races, right? And that's not necessarily the case. Probably you're not gonna get a manager if you're stuck. Managers wanna partner with some people, with artists, creators that have figured some things out on their own.
I think probably the biggest misconception is that the manager's gonna come in and have all the answers and all the solutions, and you're going to have to do nothing except sit there and write music. It's a very idealistic thought. I think the more appropriate thought is like, you want to treat this as a new team member.
I don't know about you, but I learned so much about artist management through these discussions, and I have a couple takeaways. I don't need to be waiting for a manager or a label to come save me. I can and need to be doing all of this stuff on my own before it even begins to make sense for me to have someone else come alongside me. And if Ed and Andy can do it, I know I can do it too. It might be a hot minute before I'm adding members to my team, but in the meantime, I get to build the exact career that I want. I don't have to do it alone. With resources like Indie Pro, I know I have access to all the information, help, and resources I need to actually freaking run my music business. And when the time is right, I'll make the right connections with the right people to help me grow this darn thing. And until then, it's all looking up. I hope you found today's episode as helpful as I did. Do you have a stupid question that you want me to ask? Leave it in a comment or click the link in the description to send me a request. I can't wait to see you real soon, where I'll be asking more stupid questions that we can all learn and grow from. I love you, and you can do this, you incredible, magical little angel baby. I've been Gracie Phillips for Full Stack Creative. If you liked this video, please like and subscribe for more videos on how you can be the boss bitch of your own music career. And if you do, I'll see you in the next video. I love you, and I'm proud of you, and you can do this, and I'll see you soon. Mwah!